I would like you to maybe just head over to a link that is shared in the comment section, um, and tell us your name and then share your skill and where you're joining us from. Um, you're going to see something like this. Yeah, thank you, Kiki, for being the first person. So you see something like this, just tell us, write your name, your skills, and where you're joining us from. Uh, Victor, you're welcome. I can see you. Omran, let's see. So this is another aspect of collaboration, right? Because we are practically seeing what everybody's doing right now. It's live on the screen. So okay. I need to- So if you're just joining us, please check the comment section, and you can click on the link to introduce yourself, tell us your name, your skill, and where you're joining us from. I think we have more people. Okay. Welcome, Geoffrey. I can see you. And if you're ready, welcome. Please click on the link and tell us your name, the skill you have, and where you are joining us from. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Okay. All right. So I'll proceed, and if you just join us, we'll keep this open, and you can impute your name, tell us where you're joining us from, your skills, and we'll be happy to connect with you, as this is another form of collaboration, getting to know ourselves. All right, so I will just go back to my presentation, and we can proceed. So everyone, you're welcome to make your first hot OSM open source contribution. So it's going to be a very interactive and collaborative session. So basically, we're going to look through the process on how you can make your first open source contribution to hot OSM. And this is the point where you meet each other. Of course, this is currently ongoing. Click and then interact. Interact and share your name, your location, and the skill where you're joining us from. But the focus is focused on making your first open source contribution, and would like to understand your level of experience when it comes to open source. I know that not everybody have the same experience when it comes to open source, but it's quite important for us to know if you understand what open source is, what type of understanding do you have about open source, if you have ever contributed to open source, and how long have you been contributing to open source. So you're going to do me another favor, and we'll do another exercise where you're going to just answer 3 questions. and that will help us understand your experience in open source. So we'll do that with Mentimeter. So I'll share a link in the comment section as well. So you have to click on that link, and then you can answer just 3 questions. Okay. So I'll go ahead and share the link in the comment section.
Yeah, I'll share it as well, Eden, so you can share your slides. People can also scan the code, so I can do that. Go ahead and start it.
Okay, please go ahead and share it. So you will click on the link, and then enter the code to this question. And then you can answer just 3 questions that will let us understand your level of experience, how long you've been contributing to open source, and then if you've not contributed to open source project at all, you can also tell us in that question, and I'm going to share that now. So you can, if you can also use can you see? Can you guys see this? Can you guys see my screen? If you can see my screen, please say yes. Awesome. Okay,
So you
thank
can
you.
see, woohoo, 2 people are in, 3.
Okay, so you can scan this barcode that you see right now on your screen, or you can visit this link and input this code number, and then that will give you access into this. So I'm just going to hold on for a second to allow everyone to do that and join us. So if you are currently in this, just give a thumbs up so that I'll know that you're on the same page with me. Okay, I can see many thumbs up. Okay, all right. So I'm going to move to the next thing. So the first question is this. Have you contributed to any open source projects before? So you can go ahead and tell us your, click on anyone that is, okay. I can see 5 people have responded yes. Okay, 1 person no. That's good. Okay. Do we have more people trying to answer? All right, so I'm going to move to the next question. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for participating. Now the next question is this. How long have you been contributing to open source? So guys, please be very precise with your responses. If you've never contributed, if you've contributed 6 months, 2 years plus, just click on the one that connects with your experience, because this will help us to give you, it will help our interactive and collaboration session today. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this for more people to respond. 0 to 6 months. Okay, for people. 6 months to 1 year, 3 people never contributed. 1, 2, and then 2 to 3 years, 1 person. Wow. Okay. Awesome. And the last question is this. This is just hold on for a second. Okay, so how would you rate your understanding of open source, specifically the use of GitHub, right? So if you're an absolute beginner, just tell us you're an absolute beginner. If you're trying, you don't really know so much, but you're trying your best. You can tell us you're trying your best. And if you're an intermediate, you can click on intermediate. If you're professional, you can click on that as well. So in case if you're wondering what I'm trying my best is, so if you're in between absolute beginner and then intermediate, you can just click on I'm trying my best, right? Sometimes, okay, 4 people, I'm trying my best, 2 people, absolute beginner, and 1 person is an intermediate. I think there are 3 more persons too, because we have 10 people on this. So if you haven't answered yet, please just go ahead and click on whichever response that connects with you.
And maybe we can keep this open as well, Eden, right? We're not closing it. So if you've missed
Okay.
a chance, you can do it afterwards so we can move on to the presentation.
Okay,
Sounds good.
awesome. All right. So we move on to the presentation, and the tab is open. You can always go back and answer. All right. So the next thing is, what is open source? I know that a lot of people have different understanding of what open source is. So I'm just going to run through. So what is going to happen is I'm going to run through my slides to explain open source and contribution to GitHub, and then we will jump into the practical session. So bear with me if I'm a little bit fast, so that we can have enough time to do the practicals, right? So what is open source? Open source, it's just an open source software that the code base is open and then it's licensed. All right, so it's licensed for you to contribute, make modifications, and then use it how you please. That's basically what open source is. So when you're contributing to open source, you're an open source contributor, and you can do that by contributing through code base or any other skill that you have. Okay, and then it's important, the importance of diversity in open source. It's quite important for you to know that there is no skill that you have that is not valuable when it comes to open source. So regardless of what your background is or where you're coming from or your experience or your age, you actually don't have a limitation when it comes to open source. That's why it is open source. And the characteristics that surrounds open source is quite welcoming and allows every person from diverse background to be involved when it comes to contributing to open source software. So whatever experience that you've had in past or limitation that you think, oh, something is going to stop you from pursuing your dream in open source career, if you look closely very well, you can find in the industry there are people who have the same background and the same experience. They are breaking ground. So there is actually no limitation when it comes to open source contribution. So the diversity is actually welcome, especially when it comes to the tech industry and open source, to be precise. Okay. Now, choosing the right project when it comes to open source. I know people tend to ask these questions a lot. How would they find out the right project that is good for them to contribute? So you can actually begin by exploring platforms like GitHub and GitLab. But for this session, our focus is going to be GitHub. All right, so you can explore by looking at this platform. This is actually where you can find projects that you can contribute to. Okay, so it is crucial and important for you to check the project guidelines and then the project documentation, read through all these things to be able to choose and find out the right project for you to contribute to. So you need to check if the details on the project corresponds with your skill level or the kind of experience that you have for you to contribute to the project. So that is one way to choose the right project. And then reading project guideline, like I mentioned in the previous slide, you have to develop a habit of reading the project guideline. So the first thing and the most important one is the README file. Okay, so even the name alone, README, when you're contributing to open source, make it a habit to read the README file. So before you jump into start creating a fork of the repo, make sure you go through the README file to understand everything about the project, the guidelines. If there are things, so most projects, they mention precisely the stacks that are needed to contribute to the project. So when you go through the README file, that is when you can understand and see those things, especially if you're a beginner. So make a habit of going through the README file and then setting up your dev environment. So this applies to if you're contributing to the code base of the open source project. So you can set up your dev environment using any IDE that you prefer. It could be Atom or Visual Studio, but I would recommend Visual Studio actually. So you just have to go there and then set up your dev environment for what you're working on. Um, then the next thing is what is inside a GitHub repo. So I know you've heard about GitHub repo, PR, and stuff like that. We're going to look at all these terminologies and understand everything in details. So it's like these are the terminologies that you get to see inside a GitHub repo. So when you open it, these are the things: the code, the issues, pull requests, discussions, actions, project security insights. So we're going to look at all these things in a jiffy during the practical session to understand everything that is inside a GitHub repo. Then making changes and testing. And our case study is going to be the FAIR app, the HOTOSM FAIR app, right? So the first thing or what I would recommend that you should do, in fact, this is like a standard procedure for beginners. You have to check beginner friendly and good first issues. These are the places you should start when you're contributing to open source, okay? So before you fork those projects into your repository, check the issues and be sure you're checking for the tags beginner friendly and go first issues. All right. So I'm going to explain this in details, and if you have any question, we have a Q&A session, and you can ask that as well. But let's move on to the next slide. Creating a pull request. So creating a pull request is like when you propose a change. So after you're done making those changes, when you're done making those changes to the code base or the documentation, you create a pull request. So the project maintainer is going to see your pull request, and they can go through it to see the changes you've made, and then they can either accept your pull request or tell you where you can further make some changes. So that is creating a pull request. We also see the practical step of how to do that as well. And then embracing community collaboration. So there is no open source contribution without collaboration. You understand what I mean? So open source contribution, it is so beautiful that you can be in any part of the world to contribute to open source. You can be in Brazil, Nigeria, any part of the world, and you're contributing to open source. So the collaboration, it involves it's like a community collaboration, right? So I think it's quite important for you to start embracing that level of if you're the kind of person that you tend to work alone, maybe you start embracing the collaboration of working with community, collaborating with others, seeing what people are working on, sending your pull requests and getting feedback from people, and then being able to make those changes. So that's like embracing community collaboration. Okay, so you get to participate in those projects you're working on, make those changes, and then get feedbacks. So that way, it can help you also to grow your skill as a contributor as well. All right. And then the next slide is a practical session. So this is actually quite the interesting part for me because I've been looking forward to this. For us to go through the practical steps of how you can make this contribution to open source. And we will do that using the GitHub. There are other platforms like GitLab, but this is going to be digging into GitHub. So we can understand everything about the PR, the things that are inside, making your first open source contribution. And we hope by the end of the session, you would have your contribution merged or you get feedbacks as well. So let us dive deep into GitHub right now. I'm going to share my GitHub page and we can dive deep into GitHub. So we are using the FAIR app as a case study. So this is the project that we are going to be contributing to. If you don't have a GitHub account, I would recommend that you go to github.com go to your search bar and then type github.com and then create. It's actually very simple to create a GitHub account. So when you go to github.com, you can create your account and then you can join us to do exactly what we're doing right now. All right. So, but I'm assuming everyone in this call right now has a GitHub account, and then also you are possibly joining us with your laptop because we are going to make our first contributions to the GitHub, and then possibly have those matched as well. So let's go through the things that are inside a repo. Now, the first is a code base. These are the things that I showed us on the slides. So the code base is actually the primary component of a repo. So when you go through this is where you're going to see all the documentation, the codes that have been um, that are part of that repository. And then you can also see the README file. So this is the README file. You've been hearing about the README file, This is it. And it's important for you to take time and go through the README file, read everything that is written in it so you can understand the stacks and the requirement for you to contribute to the README file. And then another thing is the code of conduct. So for every repository, there's a code of conduct. And for us at HOTOSM, we have this code of conduct that allows everyone room to express themselves, to contribute. So you can actually be yourself and contribute to the project. So there's a code of conduct that guides how you contribute to the project. So take your time and then read that as well. Then the next thing is issues. So this is actually the important aspect. It's like where you start from after you are done reading the README file. So the issues, this is where you see the issues that are in the repositories and changes that people have proposed to make. And these issues are usually raised by the project maintainer, but you as well, who's a contributor, can actually raise issues. So as you can see, I am not an admin to this project, but I can actually click on this and raise an issue. So when you find an issue with the project that you want to contribute to, you can actually click on this, raise an issue, and then the project maintainer is going to review it, and then they can give you a go-ahead to work on those issues as well. Then the next tab is the pull request. So the pull request is where you see all the changes that have been submitted to be made to that particular repo, right? So if you make any changes to your repositories and you submit it, you try to submit that branch to the primary code base, it's going to come up here to the pull request. So the project maintainer can see the changes you've made, and then they can accept your pull request as well. Then also discussions. So I think discussions is quite recent. Is a recent feature that was added by GitHub. But basically, this is where people can have discussions. I think it's just like Slack as well. So they have discussions based on the project that they're working on. So you can see different tabs, announcement, general ideas. So different topics on the discussions can actually be discussed here. And then actions. So actions allows you to see the actions that are being made on the project. So who is making the action? At what time are they making the actions? You can see that actually from this place. So if you want to see the recent changes that are being made to the pull request, you can click on actions and then scroll down and go through it to check it out. And then also project. So the project is like a management system. So there's how some software, some open source softwares, they tend to manage their project with different project management systems. Or you can actually do that also directly on GitHub. So that's what this project tab is. And in this case, you can see that how OSM has used this to create a roadmap for the FAIR app. So if you click on this, you're going to see a roadmap of the FAIR application. You see at what time are they doing what, at what time are they going to make changes or release a new update to the FAIR app. So that is what this project page is. And then, of course, security. And then lastly, I think insights. So insights allows you to see the contributors, of course, what time and the pull requests that are being made, people who are active, the most active contributor and stuff like that. Basically, that's what insights are. So now that we've gone through all these tabs, we're going to get our hands busy to start working on creating our first open source contribution today. And what did I say? So after you're done reading this whole thing, reading the README file, the first thing you should do is go to issues. So I'd like you to go ahead and open your GitHub if you're not opened that already. Petia, maybe you can help me share this particular page on the chat. So I'd like you guys to open this page right now because we're going to work together hands in hand and make our changes together. Thank you. So, all right. So what you should do is click on issues. So issues is where you see the issues or changes that have been proposed by others or contributors or the project maintainer that you can work on. And like we discussed in the slides, a good habit you have to develop as a beginner is to check out good first issues and then check out beginner-friendly issues, right? So if you click on issues, you can scroll through the issues to find good first issues. And this one is actually a good one, documentation, and it is tagged good first issue. So we are going to be contributing to this particular issue. So I'd like you to click on issues, and then the third issue on the issue list, you can go ahead and click on that and then open it, and that is what we're going to be working on. And as you can
Should we
see,
see maybe Eden if everyone's there? Maybe we can do thumbs up to see.
Okay.
Is everyone there? Let's get a sense. All right, let's see. Good.
Yeah, good.
All
good.
right, I'm loving this. Okay. Joe?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thumbs up. Thank you. So,
Betya, can you write the links you send on the message in the notes because after the meeting
Yes.
these links will be not available?
Of course. We'll do in the notes, and after the session, we'll send everything as well. I'm going to add them now to the pad as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rainier. All right. So everyone be on the same page, right? So I'd like us to go to the issues. And this is the changes we're going to work on today. Okay. So you see that this says update this link to align with the second link. So I'd like you to click on this first one. If you're using a Mac or a Windows, just hold your Command key on your keyboard and click on this first link to open on a new tab, and then click on the second link as well to open on a new tab. So because we're going to be interchanging between the two tabs to check the correct thing we're adding to the other one. So I'm just going to open this. So this is the page that we're working. This is the documentation we're working on. We are going to edit this to look exactly like this guy. So you see how this is. This is a proper contribution documentation, a guide for other open source contributors. So we are actually editing a documentation that will allow other open source contributors to understand the project that they are working on. But we are going to be working on this first one, this one, to look like the second one that I just shared with us. So everyone, give a thumbs up as well if you've opened the two links on different tabs. So give a thumbs up if you're following. Thank you, Joseph. Okay, so we're on the same page, right? Thank you, Melody. Thank you, April. Thank you, Geoffrey. Good, good. That's great. Thank you, Kiki. So we're on the same page. All right. So now that we have this open, we are going to edit this particular documentation to look exactly like this. All right. And the process might seem a little bit different, but after we are done, I'm going to show us another. I'm going to show us the traditional process they're used to, but I want you to pay attention. If you have any question, just pen down your question, and you can ask those questions during our Q&A session. But I need you to pay attention because the process of this one is a little bit different because it's documentation. So let's go ahead and start working on this right now. So what you have to do now is to click on this pen. So you see this pen right here. This pen right here. There is a button beside the pen, a drop-down button beside the pen. Click on the drop-down button to show you're following, and then click on Edit in Place. Or alternatively, you can actually type E on your keyboard. This is the shortcut, E on your keyboard. So click on the drop-down. I'll do that again. Go to this pen, click on the drop-down menu, this button, and then click on Edit in Place. So I'll click on that now. And then it's going to bring you to the documentation, and you can start editing and working on it. Okay? So now we're going to practice what we just discussed right now on the slide, which is embracing community collaboration. So everyone, we can start getting used to that because it's a huge part of open source contribution. I'd like to, if you are joining us with your laptop, I'd like you to give a thumbs up. Let me know how many people joining us with your laptop, because we are going to distribute Joseph. Okay, thank you, Joseph. Who else is joining us with their laptop? Thank you, Umbra. Thank you, Jojo. So that's 3 persons joining us with their laptop. Thank you, April. Sorry, I'm not pronouncing your name well. Okay. Any more person joining us with their laptop? So what we will do now is we're going to Besto. Thank you, Besto. So we're going to share the work. We're going to distribute the work among ourselves so everyone can be involved in making the changes to the documentation. So now if you switch to the tab that we are going to edit this to, switch to the tab that we're going to edit this to, we have a very short one, not so long, but because there are 5 of us who are joining us with their laptop, so we're going to divide this into 5. So we'll have one person, Joseph. Maybe you can contribute from welcome and stop here on this repo. Then we can have the second person contribute from testing and maybe stop here on report bugs. And then we can have the third person contribute from code conduct and stop here. And then we have the fourth person contribute from documentation and then stop here. We have the last person contribute from thank you and then stop here. All right, so that will make every one of us do something. So it's not just one person doing the whole thing. So just go to the edit. I will go back to the documentation where we're editing right now. So you copy from the original one that we're working on, and then you come back to this one, and then you can impute those changes that you're supposed to do right now. So I'm going to give us about 4 to 5 minutes, everyone. Get your hands busy. So go to the document where we have the copy. Make sure you copy to the point where you're supposed to contribute. And then you go back to this particular documentation where we are editing right now. And then you can paste it there. And then we can move to the next thing. So I'll give us about 5 minutes to do that.
You want to mention, sorry, then maybe some names on the first second. I know there were 5 people, but maybe they don't know. We can just, start by saying testing. Yeah. And
Joseph.
then go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I think Joseph raised his hand. So Joseph, you can do from welcome. Let me share the tab again. From welcome to this point. Then April, I think April raised their hand as well. April from testing to this point. And then I don't know who else raised their hand. Are they more? Okay, Victor. All right, Victor. So Victor, you can contribute from code contributions to this point. So you start from code contributions and stop here. And then who else raised their hand?
I think we had Ade, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, Besto. So Besto raised their hand. So Besto, you can contribute from documentation and stop here. So we have one more person that raised their hand. So one more person, Omra. Okay, Omra.
I would discount Omran. Omran, you've done many. I think somebody else. Not
Okay.
Omran. Somebody else. You have a lot
Someone
of
else.
people.
So one more person. Okay, maybe I can be the one more person if there's no one else with
Great. Yeah, that would be
their
good. So you
laptop.
can showcase people how it works. And we
Yes.
did have a question either in the chat about forking, and I've just explained you're gonna showcase to people how that works because it's really
Yes.
nice. Yeah. Olu, did you have a question?
Okay, so moving on, I will go ahead and show us how to do that. So I'll go back to this tab, and then I am contributing the last part. So I will come here. I will come to the tab where I have the information, and then I can copy this. Another thing, guys, let me share this with us. Another thing, if you want to get this accurate, if you want to make sure that you're copying both this and the level of the heading and everything, you can also click on edit. Click on this button, edit in place, right? And then you copy from this part, you see. So from this part, you copy this to the main part. So maybe in our next session, if we're going to have another session, I can explain how this works. So this is actually heading. This is double hashtag, which means heading 2. So this is all the way, if you understand HTML, the way HTML works, it is all the way from heading 1 to heading 2. So if you, let me go back to the other documentation. So in this documentation, if I put H, just one hash, and then I type, let's say, HOTOSM, that is heading 1. So if you do double hash, that's heading 2, 3 hash, heading 3, and so on and so forth to heading 6. So now that I've copied that, I can edit this. Don't mind my highlighter. I can edit this and then paste it here. So it will ensure that I have exactly what I have in that documentation right here, okay, including the links. So it is quite important because this is, I think the particular method for this is cadram. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's cadram. So this process is also a process for you to impute links. So it's important for you to actually go to the document where the original one is and then copy it exactly how I've showed you so that way we'll have all these things imputed. So this bracket and this particular bracket are quite important to make sure that the link is working, okay? So now that you have copied that, I'm assuming everyone, so if you know you've done your task, please give it a thumbs up. Joseph, okay, Joseph, good. Victor, nice. Who else have done their task? April, nice. It is one more person to do their task. So one more person, who are we waiting for? Well, I will just go ahead. I think the okay, I'll go ahead and then show us the next step. So now that you're done copying the documentation, what you have to do is to click on commit changes. Okay, so I'll click on this commit changes, and you impute the changes you've done. So this is update contributing to AMD. So you can actually leave this like this because it's update, or you can come to the description and maybe type something that you've done, added the thank you message. That's what I did. I added a thank you message, so I can click on propose changes. So when you do this and impute your description, the next thing is to click on propose changes. This green button, you click on this, okay, and we will give that a little time to load. Okay, good. So now it has proposed the changes we're making, but the project maintainer will not see your pull request yet. So that is why I say it's important for you to pay attention, because the process is a little bit different. So once you're done proposing the changes, you can then go ahead and create a pull request. Okay, but be sure that the changes you're making are actually accurate, so you can check again to see that it's correct. And then the next thing is to click on create pull request. So you come to this button by your right and then click on create pull request. All right, so again, the name and then the description, added a thank you message. And then you scroll down, allow edits, make sure that this is checked, allow edits by maintenance, or oftentimes they will give you a feedback if the changes you made are correct, or if they want you to make further changes. So allow edits by maintenance, and then you click on create pull request. So I'll click on this to create a pull request. And then we're going to allow that to load for a second. And then tada, our pull request has been created. So, and for you to know for you to be sure that the pull request, if the pull request created a repo to your dashboard, you can go ahead and go to your profile. So click on this, your profile, right? Or you can give that time to load a little bit and then click on repositories. All right, and I think this is the pull request that we just created, updated 2 minutes ago. So I think it's this one. So that is how for you to be certain that the changes you've made, you've created a pull request, and now the project maintainer can actually see the project that you're working on. Okay, so if you've done that, please give a thumbs up. If you've done that, please give a thumbs up. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Besto. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, April. That's great. Awesome. Okay, we're on the same page. So the project, the pull request that you created is going to now show. Let's go back to HOTOSM. Right? It's going to now show on this. So you can see when we started this session, we had about 3 or 4 pull requests, but now we have 8. So that is all the pull requests that you have made. I can see one by Vic, one by Joseph, one by Besto, and this is the one I made by myself. So that is all of our pull requests. So you can actually clap for yourself now. Awesome. So you've made your first pull request. Awesome. And I think the project maintainer is going to review your pull request, and then, but before we get to that, before we get to reviewing your pull request.
So once, maybe I'll just quickly jump in that I'll just commit myself and Omran, we're going to review your pull requests, and you would see, and with Omran as well. I'm just aware of time, Eden, so I would say a suggestion would be maybe to see if there are any questions and to explain maybe the fork bit, because I know we had a question on this. so that we
Okay.
can then move on to next steps. But loving that we see the pull requests. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and explain the fork bit. That's like the traditional method of contributing to open source, especially when you are working on a code-based project, right? So back to FAIR, we're going to still use FAIR as a case study. So I'll click on the code base. And then, yeah, this is the home page, the primary page of the repo. So the first thing you want to do when you want to fork projects, you've gone through the process, choose the right project, check the first issue. First thing you want to do is to start the project. Okay, I'm going to show us the importance of this in a bit, but it is quite important for you to click on this and then start the project. All right. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and fork your project. Okay, so you click on this button right here that says fork. Click on this, and it's going to create a repository of these same projects on your dashboard. So it's like a different branch. So the changes you're going to work on or the changes you will make will be made on that branch. So when that is not available destination to fork this project, forking repository allows you to freely. Okay, so I think I have an existing repo of this. That is why it is not allowing me to do that. So I'm going to experiment. I'm going to show us how to do that with another project. So we can use maybe the tasking manager or the FMTM as an example. By the way, these pin repositories are open to contributions. So the pin repositories on the HOTOSM GitHub page, you can actually contribute to these projects. So we check the issues and contribute. So we'll use the tasking manager as an example. So I'll click on this and give that a second to open. Okay, so again, you have to click on this. I'll start that now. So you click on this to start this particular project. So you click on this project to start, and then you can click on fork to fork the project. So it is going to create a version, a copy of this on your dashboard, on your GitHub dashboard. All right, so this is it. Make sure that this is checked. Copy the developer branch only. Make sure that this is checked. And then you can click on create fork. Okay. If you're following, please give a thumbs up. If you're following, I hope I haven't lost. Okay, thank you, Joseph. That's great. Okay, thank you. So once you click on that, it's going to create a repository of that particular project on your dashboard. Now you can see previously we have OSM tasking manager. Now we have EDNS codes tasking manager, meaning that this is now a copy of that project on my dashboard. All right. So once you've done that, once you've forked the project, the next step is for you to clone this project. So to do that, you have to come to the code base and click on this arrow and then copy this link. So you come down, HTTPS, then you click on this to copy the link. So you copy the link, and then the next thing is you press Command Spacebar. If you're using MacBook, sorry, I'm using MacBook. I think it's a little bit different for those using Windows, but I think I'll show us briefly how to do that if you're using Windows. But if you're using MacBook, just press Command and Spacebar on your keyboard to open up a terminal. So you can type terminal, and it opens up a terminal. You press the Enter key. Press the Enter key. Can you guys still see my screen? Can you still see my screen? Oh, okay. It's not showing my terminal.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
can see your browser, Aiden. We cannot see your terminal.
You can't see my terminal. Okay. Just hold on 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing and share again so that it shows my terminal.
That's okay. And one thing, we have around 7 minutes left, Ida, so maybe we give it a try, but that could be the proposal for a new session. So let's see what we can manage. Give it a try, and if not, I think we can go through kind of next steps, and just so people know how they can keep in touch for maybe another session on this.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen now?
We see the, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what I did was I opened up my terminal, and then it brought me to this place. Okay, so this is my terminal, right? And what you can do next is actually to type git clone. So there are so many commands, but maybe in our next session I can tell us about that. So what you should do next is to type git space and then clone space, and then you paste that link, and then you press the enter key. So it is going to then clone that particular repository to your local machine, right? So remember we talked about IDE, Integrated Development Environment. An example is the VS Code. So this has actually cloned. So you see done, done, done. So it has cloned this in my machine. So I can go ahead and open that in VS Code. So once I click on VS Code, sometimes people are okay, still receiving objects, 3%. I think there's so many objects in this. But basically, what this does is going to create a copy of this particular repository to your local machine, and you can go find it where it is cloned. And so most of the times it's cloned on your user. So user and then your name. In my case, user Eden. You can go and find the clone there. Or you can actually create a directory directly here on the terminal. Maybe in the next session, I can show us how to do that. You create a directory where you want the cloned repositories to be. So that is also another option. But I think this is going to take a lot of time because it is still receiving objects. It's on 11% because Task Manager, that's a big project in HOTOSM, and that's huge to clone. So, but after that is done cloned, the next thing you're supposed to do actually is open your VS Code, and then you open that particular repository where you're working on it, where it is saved rather in your machine. And then you can then make the changes, the coding. You can make the changes, the coding that you want to make, and then commit those changes. So those changes, let me see if this is going to open right now.
What I'll suggest maybe, Eden, is I've added the pad. If people would like this in another session, please add this so that you can talk now about next steps in your slides. I think just given time, that would be the best. But I would encourage everyone, share the pad. So if you're interested in this, please add it. And the bottom, you can see what, topics you can discuss next.
Yeah, so you can do that. You can go ahead, guys, please, you can go ahead and do that and share the topics you want us to discuss next. So if you want us to go through that process of the entire cloning and committing, we can talk about that. If you want us to talk about bash commands, we can talk about that. I can teach us some aspects of bash command when it comes to open source contribution as well. So I'm really glad that we got our hands busy, so we can jump back into our slide and check the next thing that we have. Okay, so practical session, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the practical session. And thank you. Okay, all right, so the next thing on our slide is overcoming challenges. So definitely there will be challenges, right? There's going to be, it's normal to encounter challenges when you're working on open source. So it could be you don't understand it. It could be you need more clarity. It could be imposter syndrome. Okay, so but this particular slide is going to be shared with you. You can read more about challenges. I published an article on challenges, so you can. I also face my own challenges when it comes to contributing to open source. So I shared my experience and my stories on how I navigate through those challenges. So you can do that. You can read this article to understand more about that when this slide is shared with you. Okay, and then the next one is celebrating your contributions. Definitely, if you contributed to the project today, I would recommend that you go to a platform that you use quite often and celebrate your contributions. Okay, I added this particular quote from Viola Davis. I saw this on her Instagram post and it made a lot of sense to me, and I thought it would be nice for me to add it to this particular slide. All right, so I encourage you to celebrate your contribution, celebrate your wins. You've actually made your first contribution to open source. If it's not your first, then it's your first in 2024. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and a session. I don't know if you have questions. I don't know. Do we still have time for questions?
I don't think so, but people can add them in the pad. I would really encourage people to do that. And maybe we plan the next session. That's just hands-on. Yeah.
All right, so you can add your questions to the pad. The link is shared as well in the comment section, and then those questions can be reviewed. And then also mention importantly the next topic you want us to discuss, the next open source topic you want us to discuss in another session possibly. And so the next step for you to do is to commit to creating at least one PR per month. I will encourage us in your journey in open source to be very active. Whatever you commit to do actively, you grow in it, okay? So if you can make one PR per month, there are so many issues for you to work on in HOTOSM project. So you can check out pin repositories on GitHub for you to work on. And then join a welcoming and inclusive community. And I strongly recommend join HOT community. So if you're not part of the community yet, I would recommend that you join the community. And if you're in the community, be sure to check out other channels. There are some other channels that you can check out and be involved in the discussions that are going on there, so you can be aware when there are some open source events that you can join and grow your career in open source. And then be present in our next session. Okay, so if you've shared your topic on what you want us to talk about, please try and be present in our next session. And then we are also going to have a Skillshare session on the 26th of this month. I will encourage us to be part of that as well, be present. So for those of us who are part of Outreachy, a few people asked me questions about how I created a video that I created, and I'm going to be sharing, this is actually the link. I think the link will also be shared with you in the comment section. Peter, please, you can help me share the link as well. So you can come to this link and register for this particular Skillshare. We're going to be talking about, you're going to learn how to elevate your video editing skill, all right? So it's a good skill to have, so you never know when you can need it as well. So I'm going to be sharing how I edited my videos, how I make really enticing and beautiful videos, short form videos. And the beautiful thing about it is that we're going to be using a software that you can also use on your phone. So it is quite handy, it is quite accessible, all right? So I think this is the next steps that you need to take, okay? So I don't know if you have anything to share with us, Peter.
No, just huge thank you. I think if people wanna, we always do that. I think reach out to Eden. That's not the add ideas, reach out to Eden. And if people wanna switch on their cameras just to wave by, I can try and take a photo and yeah. Thank you, Eden. I hope, I think I saw some feedback that people have found this useful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Clement. Thank you, please. If you don't mind, you can try to switch on your. Thank you, Kiki.
No worries.
Thank you, Geoffrey. Thank you. Can turn on your camera so we can take a snapshot.
Let me try.
Hi, Geoffrey.
Nice. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Eden. I'm committing to more sessions. So you need to choose the topic. So.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you in our next session. And please fill in the questions if you haven't yet on the pad.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye, Hidden. Such a nice session.
Bye, Ezekiel. Bye, Geoffrey.
Bye. Thank you.